What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bionic Podcast, episode number 10, where I have my beautiful girlfriend joining me. What's going on?
Hello.
How are
Hi,
you?
everyone.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So let's let everybody know the topic of today's podcast, which I mentioned in my last episode, episode number 9, where I spoke about my body dysmorphia. This is kind of like a branch from that episode, but it was something that I've been wanting to do with Rachel since we filmed our podcast, which was like episode number 6
Yeah.
or something like that. So we mentioned it, and today the name of today's podcast is the connection between mental and physical health. So just to give you guys a quick introduction here, the reason why we're doing this podcast is because, we're coming up on a year of COVID-19 and quarantines and lockdowns and all these things that all of us have been faced through in life. And it's been tough for a lot of people, obviously on different levels. Everybody has their own struggles, but it's a time where mental and physical health both are very, very important. So we want to focus on, keeping it positive, keeping insight and knowledge shared on the Bionic podcast. And the cool thing about this podcast is that I come from a physical health background, and Rachel comes from a mental health background in terms of what we studied at school. So, like I said, times are tough right now with COVID and everything. So we want to just kind of share our knowledge about mental health and the little things that have helped us, and what we think is kind of optimal to get us through these tough times. So we're gonna do a quick cheers. Thank you so much for coming on and doing such a good subject with me. It's something that I've been wanting to talk about on this podcast, and like I mentioned in the last one, like I'm trying to be extremely real on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I want to shout out anybody that reached out to me, that told me that it was really nice to like hear truth and honesty out of myself, and being able to open up and share my experiences on the podcast is something I haven't really done, and it's something that you told me that like I should be doing, just because sometimes the things that you face in life can help other people.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't talk about it, then
Nobody knows.
nobody knows. So the first thing we're going to start with is, the first thing is today is March 5th,
Yeah.
2021. We are a week away from the 1 year anniversary of COVID-19 lockdown in Canada. So just to give everybody a life update, if you don't live in the GTA, if you're listening from anywhere else, the Peel region, which is us, Mississauga, Brampton, and whoever, is going into the gray zone. And
Whatever
there's
that
all these
means.
restrictions or whatever. So it's like gyms are still closed.
Stupid.
Restaurants are still closed, but
might
like
be
retail
opening.
stores are open. I don't know
Yeah.
if restaurants are opening, but regardless,
Stores are opening
yeah, but not gyms.
for whatever reason. Yeah.
So, that's something that like is really dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
The gym has been kind of like a therapy slash like outlet for both of us. And
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about like what do you think about like, the gyms being closed and the
I
way
could
it's
go on
affecting
and
us?
on. For us, it's different because you have 2 gyms that I'm able to use.
Mhm.
So it's nice. Like I still have somewhere to work out, but for the general population, could be controversial, but I think it's the dumbest thing that gyms have been closed. I think that's like a silent killer for people.
Mhm.
I don't
But
know,
the
just
shitty thing,
coming from like the background that I do, like I can't seem to wrap my head around how they think that.
it makes sense to keep the
Yeah.
gyms closed.
Yeah.
When realistically, the only reason why we're speaking from this perspective is because the numbers of cases and like the spread and exposure of COVID in the gyms was actually low, like
Yeah.
in November, in December, and then they still locked them down, So
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being a small gym owner, like a one of one type thing, and your facility has to stay closed when realistically, they're not the problem.
No, I just think it's very ironic that that people think the government specifically is saying watch out for your mental health, talk to a friend, whereas there's all this research how much physical exercise helps mental health, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the thing, right? When we talk about determinants of health, right? That's something that I studied. That's something that you studied. Before we go into that, I want you to just like tell the audience again, if anybody missed the episode with you, what did you graduate university from?
Yeah, so I went to University of McMaster for Health and Society, specializing in mental health and addictions, and I'm currently studying childbirth education.
Okay.
So I
So
did all the loops: aging, mental health, addictions, and now perinatal education.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, and for myself, I graduated from Niagara College with a Ontario College diploma in fitness and health promotion. So, as Rachel was studying the mind and the way we think and how our upbringing affects the people that we are today and all these different things, addictions and all that stuff, she's been able to kind of have a good outlook on my life. She's very good, and I'm proud of you for this, is like you being able to assess yourself and your mental health and
Mm.
knowing when you need to implement things or change things up or whatever. So that's why I wanted to come on here and talk about the connection between physical and mental health because you have been able to achieve your goals physically in the gym. You went from kind of having a skinnier frame to then packing on lean muscle tissue,
Mm.
and that's something that a lot of people struggle with, even guys that are skinny that are trying to get big. It's a very hard thing to do, and that's also something that takes a toll on the mental health as well. Like if you're
Mm.
skinny or if you're like on the bigger side and you're trying to achieve a certain physique and you can't break that barrier and you can't actually get it done, it then starts to affect your mental health. So
Mm.
just in general of like keeping ourselves fit and all that stuff, we're gonna talk about all those things. What makes it difficult? What makes things easier? How can you make your journey easier? And we're here to share our educated opinions because it's not just what we think. It's also a bit of curriculum that we learned in school that I'm really excited, and I think it's just crazy that like you decided to study that because you were in a general program in first year and then you went on to specialize in
Yeah.
that. And then I was in phys ed at university and then I went to specialize in fitness. So I think that's awesome that we have this balanced thing. So the first question I want to ask you, and we'll branch off of that, is what do you think is important to keeping mental health a priority while being at home more often than we all ever have been?
Yeah. So I think that was something for me that I was really nervous about when they announced the first lockdown back in March.
Hmm.
Because I'm the kind of person that I'm pretty in touch with my mental health in the sense that I know what I need to do for it to thrive.
Hmm.
And I know things that will trigger like poor mental health in my life.
Hmm.
So for me, I need to leave the house once a day. Like it's just something about me. Like
Luckily enough, you have a dog, so
yeah,
if it may be the smallest thing, it's a walk or
yeah.
whatever that you need to do to make yourself feel
Yeah,
better,
but
right?
even before COVID, like, sounds so silly, but I would leave the house, I'd go walk around the dollar store, or I'd go walk around Walmart. Like, it's just, if I have nothing to do, like, I need to get out of the house once a day,
Hmm.
and, like, maybe it's seeing people, like,
Hmm.
social interactions. I don't know, but, um, yeah, so that was important to me before COVID. But then when COVID started, I realized that I really needed to make a plan of action because I was scared, like, of
Like
what
for your mental
yeah,
health,
of what
yeah.
was going to happen to my mental health during lockdown
And it's like
because
the longer it goes on, the harder it is because
yeah,
sometimes, and I have felt like this throughout all the quarantines and the lockdowns. Is like sometimes you're doing well, you're on a good track or whatever, but like because of the government and because of just like the cases numbers and all this stuff, like you don't see the end of the tunnel
yeah,
all the
it just
times.
hits you. So that's why like some days it's easy to like you'll have a good week where you're like, "Oh, I feel so good. I've been on my routine." And
Mhm.
then it all of a sudden hits you like once a week and it's
Mhm.
like what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
But as for what I do during lockdown or what I did at the beginning was I sat down and I made a plan for what I was going to do each day. So I had each day I had like a list of things and they were small things that I was
Mhm.
going to do, but it was everything that I needed to do to get my mental health in check. So,
Hmm. Well, sometimes like having a
yeah.
small couple smaller things on your to-do list or on something that you want to accomplish on a daily
Mm,
basis, like it's better that they're small because they're easier to
you'll
achieve.
get it
You know
done.
what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like you're like, and that's something that I've talked about on the podcast before is like if you overload your plate, like let's say you put 5 things on your to-do list versus 3,
Mm-hmm.
like you can get 3 things done in one day, or if
Yeah.
it's just like simple things, like continue on. What were you gonna say? Like, were the things that helped you?
Yeah, so what I wrote is like I had the smallest thing. So I would write down like get dressed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up, go have breakfast, go for a walk with my brothers. I would write down, do yoga, exercise. So I would do my workout at home.
Mm-hmm. Because for everybody, like, although she has access to the gym now, like, we went like months and periods of time where
We weren't
yeah,
allowed
you weren't
to.
allowed to even come to my gym. So
Yeah, so I was in
working
my
out at home,
house
yeah.
for my parents were pretty strict about lockdown at the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
just because they were scared like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on full house arrest, I'd say.
Everybody.
So that's why it was so important for me. So I even wrote down like I would go for a drive. But it's just those little things. And with mental health, like sometimes you have to write down like get dressed in the
Mm-hmm.
morning
Yeah.
because like it's those little things that like you really need to do to take care of yourself that'll
Mm-hmm.
improve your mental health so much.
Yeah, because sometimes like lounging around in like the shorts and the t-shirt that you slept in kind of makes you feel like a bit like, like
Yeah.
either you want to return to your bed, like it like sucks you
Yeah.
back into bed, or not that that's a bad thing, but something like a point that I wanted to make to transition us into our next topic is like, so that's when you were out of work and you were like you had so much time on your hands, and there's a lot of people like this that either aren't working now or weren't working before or whatever, but now that people, because it's hard, I feel like it's hard when you have a lot of time on your hands, but then what about now? A lot of people are working jobs remotely at home, and other
Mhm.
people are like younger people watching this podcast because we're only just 1 year out of school. So a lot of my audience is around the ages of 18 to 24. So for those younger adults, like they're trying to do school from home. So they have a 3 hour lecture from 7:30 to 10:30 at night, or
Mhm.
they have exams and midterms and assignments and all these types of things. Like, what do you think is like a couple good tips or tricks that like people can do, like after, let's say they work 8:30 to 4:35 at their desk in their house,
Mhm.
right? Like how do you think like people can, because you also did that, that's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because you did a remote job where it was a 9 to 5 on your laptop, like pretty
Yeah.
much a Zoom job, right? Like that's what they
Mhm.
call them
And those
now.
are hard. And I didn't, since the lockdown started in March, I was close to graduating anyway. So
Hmm.
I had a couple of things to do on Zoom with school, but
Yeah.
like for online learning right now, like I really, my heart's out for you guys because that's hard.
Well, you're also doing a course.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's not as lecture based. Like
yeah,
it's not as
but
like prof and
university
teacher.
online
No,
would be hard.
trust me, I don't think I could succeed at that, to be completely
No.
honest.
Yeah, so
Classes are already optional enough for me in person.
yeah.
Imagine if it was just
Yeah.
I would definitely be a bad student even more than I ever
Yeah,
was
you'd never
before.
go.
Anyways.
No, so for online like working, so Zoom, remote working, when I did that, I found it was really important to get outside once, like when the sun was out.
Mhm.
So whether that be before work, which is sometimes hard to achieve if you're not a morning person,
Mm.
um, but I found going out on my lunch was really nice to just go for a walk around the neighborhood. Like for me, um, for my mental health to thrive, I need to see the sun and I need to see the daylight.
That's another thing, yeah, that
Yeah.
like when we're like, waking up together in the same house and stuff, she's like instantly ripping blinds open. Like every like curtain
That's
in
what
my
I say.
house, every
My
curtain in my house gets open, every blind gets rolled up. Like she's like
yeah,
sunshine, vitamin D, it's got to be in the
that's
house.
my
Like
motto is darkness equals sadness. I say that all the time and I
she
mean
does.
it. Like
Yeah.
I you need to see the daylight like and that's why it's so important to me to get up, open my windows, turn on all the lights like and just see the sun because vitamin D does
Gives
make you
you
happy.
gives you
Um
energy, improves your mental health,
yeah,
better
and
for your immune system.
I find that I struggle a lot when, say, if I wake up late and then I don't get to go outside and then I only go outside when it's dark. Like
Hmm.
those days, it really impacts me and like you can tell right away. And
Oh, I
so,
can definitely tell right away
yeah.
when you're.
Oh, yeah. But for people that, like, even if you try it one day,
Hmm.
you'll notice a difference. So,
Hmm.
especially for me, because I've seen the two
Hmm.
opposites in myself.
Hmm.
Once you start to notice the change in mood when you actually do start to do those things, like going outside, seeing the sun, and it sounds so mundane and stupid
Hmm.
to just go for a walk, but
No, it's
like
true.
it can help you so much.
So, and another thing I wanted to talk about too, and I talked about in my last podcast, the one I did by myself, is that for all the listeners out there, everybody is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when we're talking about our perspectives and, whatever, it's based off of what we know. It's based off of what we've
Our
been taught, our
experiences.
experiences, all these types of things. But you need to know for yourself what makes you happy,
Yeah, what
right?
works
So
for
I
you.
like to draw things out of you because this is almost like your profession. Like you're so
Mm-hmm.
educated, you're 4 years of university educated on these topics. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to ask you because your insight is good. You have real life experience and you've applied it, and it works. Like
Mm.
you are more routine. You know what I mean? Like you do things in order to keep your mental health at a good state.
Yeah,
So
and that's not to say that because I do those things, it's always rainbows from here on. Like,
no.
that's not what I want to say. And, like, it is a journey. So, regardless, like, sometimes you'll do the exact same schedule and routine and do the same thing you did yesterday, but you'll just have a really bad day. And, like, that happens.
Hmm.
So, I don't want people to. Like, look at all these things on Instagram, like creating a routine, making you happy, or me sitting here talking about the routine that I do, and then
Act like if you do
act like
that,
I
like
never
it's
have a
yeah,
bad
nothing's
day,
nothing's gonna
because I
bad.
do. Like, it happens all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I just want people to know that that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's going to happen. Like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows once
Mm-hmm.
you figure your life out.
So something I want to throw in to top off that topic of like how everybody's different is
Mhm.
that like me and I'm like I can stay in the dark all day long in my room and like watch
And
TV
thrive. You're
and
happy as can
guys
be.
like on the Xbox, like I'm blessed. Like truly, to be honest with you, like exercising and like getting moving and stuff noticeably makes me happier. Like
Mhm.
if I just do like even like not on prep or anything, like just getting up. I was doing cardio when I wasn't on prep just cuz like it releases endorphins. It's good for you. Like you
Yeah.
feel like a high when you get off a 30-minute cardio session or whatever it may
Mhm.
be, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You do whatever is best for you, but I want everybody to know that, you have to do the things that make you happy. So for me, if I have a day where I know I don't need to do anything, I have no clients to take care of or anything like that, it's like a nice off, like true off day for myself, then like I'll like get up, I'll eat, and then like I'll go back to the dungeon like and just play
Yeah.
Xbox with the lights off and watch YouTubes
Oh,
and
you love the dark.
yeah, I like the dark, but to me that's relaxing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes, and I'm sure we're gonna struggle with this when we live together, but it's like when she's like up early and like ripping the blinds open, and I'm like still like I'm like a vampire, and then
Yeah.
then I'm like exposed to all this sunlight, and I'm like
Literally.
close the blinds, and she's like no, I need to be happy, and she's like ripping the blinds open. I'm like oh my lord, what am I doing here? Anyways, so at the end of the day, you do what makes yourself,
Yeah.
what makes you better, what makes you happy,
Mhm.
and we're just here to share our stories. That's
Yeah.
what the Bionic podcast is about, right?
Exactly.
So the next topic I wanted to go into is so for myself, I struggle with this to understand this. So I want the reason why you're here is to give the other half of the equation. Okay.
Mhm.
For myself, when I get up and I have to do cardio and I have to eat these meals and stuff like that, my physical health is always kind of prominently on my mind. Like,
Mhm.
getting leaner, doing all this stuff. Now I have a goal. Like it's kind of like mindless for me at a certain
Yeah.
point. So what do you think is like important or like the keys to draw the fine line on how to be tough with yourself? So like for example, for me, like when I know I don't want to do cardio or whatever, it's very easy for me to just force myself to do it and
Yeah.
like just get on it or whatever. So the question is, how do you draw the line with being gentle with yourself and coddling yourself, like
Mhm.
in terms of like being too tough on yourself? Because if you're too tough on yourself, people will shut down. You'll get into bad mental health. You'll start like almost like the body dysmorphia, like I was talking about. Like you'll not like what you see, and your mental state is off, so it's hard to like be happy. Like so, because with yourself, right? Like when to give yourself a mental health day or mental health week, like we were talking about. Sometimes she used to do that in
Yeah,
fourth
me
in
and my
fourth
friends in
in
school.
fourth year, like. So like how do you draw that fine line to, being hard on yourself, giving yourself enough space to breathe, but then like also being strict enough that like you're gonna like accomplish things like
Yeah. So It's hard. You need to really become in touch with yourself, and really understand your emotions. So it's also part of learning discipline. So there's a lot of different factors in that. So I completely understand the days where you feel like you can't even get out of bed. Like maybe you're so anxious, like you can't even like make yourself breakfast because you just like can't bring yourself to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And like some days are just gonna be like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sound insensitive because that's not how I'm trying to come across at
You're
all.
you're the sweetest, like nicest person ever.
I know.
Like
I'm just
when
scared
you
that it'll be interpreted as like
so tell the people.
yeah. So
Say like, yo, like I don't mean it like
yeah,
this.
exactly.
This is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah,
Like
because I get it. Like
because this is the controversial question.
yeah,
This is the question where like with myself, my clients have helped me with that
yeah,
because I need to be understanding to them. I need to
yeah,
understand that there's days where they're gonna slip up, or there's days where they don't feel the best. They'll skip a workout or whatever, and that's totally fine. And
yeah,
I've fully adapted to that on the external part of it,
yeah,
right? But for you, like I want you to know, I want you to explain because I can't speak for myself. Like I there for me, there's no line. It's just like you're doing this workout, it's gonna take you an hour and a half, it's gonna be a grinder, but that sucks.
yeah,
Like just do it. So like how do you draw that line where like okay, I need to take some time off?
yeah.
Or
So it's a very fine line. Like if you're starting your fitness journey, like when I did in grade 11, like I was going through like a hard time. I was really sad, but like I would drive myself to the gym and just like I did not want to be there at all.
mm-hmm.
And like I would sit in the parking lot and debate going home, but I would go in and do at least one exercise. So I would go in, say do like a squat. I would do 4 sets of squats and then leave. And then I would start doing that every single day. I would do the same thing. I would go to the gym. If I did one exercise, great. If I did a whole workout, great.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of going when I didn't want to, that's when I learned the discipline and it became a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a line of yes, sometimes you can't do anything because you're just like in a state that's like not fixable that day.
Shutting
Like
down.
you need to have a day to wallow in yourself
Of
and
course.
like be with your
Yeah,
emotions.
everybody has those.
But there's a line of when it becomes too much and you need to pick yourself up and do something. And I don't say that in an insensitive way because I say it from experience where like I've literally been there where it's like, okay, like this is enough for me. Like I can't just be like this anymore and I need to pick myself up. I need to get up. I need to have a coffee. I need to walk to the gym. Like I need to go do something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like it's if you're having those days every single day, that's when you need to sit back and look at what you're doing, look at what's going on, and establish a plan of what you need to do because, like, your life can't be like that. Like, you can't just, and that's for you, right? Like, you don't want to have a life where you're just like so anxious all the time and you can't do anything.
Yeah,
Like,
where it like freezes you to like accomplish
yeah,
things.
or
Because the reason I use the word accomplish is because like although you've struggled with mental health like over like like many years, like it hasn't like stopped you from achieving
Yeah.
your goals, right? So the connection between mental and physical health is that I think what you're trying to describe is like like in sports people call it like a slump.
Yeah.
Right, where like you go on a goal drought where you
Yeah.
can't score a goal or you can't perform or whatever, and then I think that's what's helped me overcome it is in hockey when I would like not perform well for like a long time and you're in a slump. It's like picking yourself up out of that. You're at a point where things are low, and to accept that, to know that, to come to terms with it, and then to want more,
Yeah.
to want to better yourself, like you've been still able to accomplish like your gains in the gym, even though you battle against the mental health and the anxiety. So like
Yeah.
that is the reason why we're making this podcast, is because you can't have one without the other, guys. You
No.
can't have physical health. Like, you can't be in the best shape of your life and then your mind is like all thrown off and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because they both reflect each other, and vice versa. If you're not in good mental health, then your body's not going to be performing at its best. It's not going to look the best. Like,
Hmm.
cortisol levels, holding on to fat, holding on to water weight, and all
Yeah.
these types of things. It makes like a huge difference. So that's another reason why this prep for me is so different, because I'm trying to tie my emotions in. I'm trying to stay calm, control my cortisol levels, like consciously, like literally, really think about my mental health, because if you're not right up here in the mind, then
You're not
it's
right
it's
anyway.
yeah, exactly. Literally, I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna say like your physical body, like nowhere, like your
Yeah.
soul, your
And
body.
that's not to say that sometimes you'll have a bad day, but then you know that you need to pick yourself up and exercise. Because once you start making it a habit, you'll understand how you feel after you exercise. And I want to say
How do you feel?
exercise,
How do you feel after you exercise?
I don't always feel amazing. Like some days, like you and I both, we cry when we do cardio, which is people think is weird, but that's for us is different because the reason like the feeling that you get after
Mm-hmm.
you get that endorphin and rush of endorphins
Mm-hmm.
is like no other. And I say exercise because you might not necessarily like lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
You might hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hate it, it's not going to be good for you.
No,
So, like,
do something you enjoy.
yeah, find your source of exercise that you enjoy to
Yeah,
do and it
you
makes
know
you
what? You
feel
know what
good.
else you can call it too? Just physical activity,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't have to be exercise. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes the words that you use throw the general public off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when some people hear the word diet, right? Like, for example, guys, on Team Bionic, if you've ever worked with me, it's actually called a meal plan, right? I don't like to like that. That changed in my second year of business when I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, just seeing the word diet there freezes people, right?
Yeah.
Just like exercise and like working out, right? Like, what is working out? Working out could just be like kicking the soccer ball around with one friend for 20 minutes. Like, that could be a workout. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why does it have to be weights? Like, I really like that point. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
weights. It doesn't have to be getting huge or cardio or the stepper treadmill bike.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it can literally be anything you want
And
it to
if
be.
you like what you said with how you feel after working out, like
Mm-hmm.
if you don't feel good after your workout, you don't have that high, like it's okay. Like some days you're going to have a bad workout,
Of course.
but in your heart, you know why you're working out. So that in itself should make you feel better and accomplished.
You know what's crazy? Sometimes a podcast just flows, okay? So we're going to ride that wave straight into our next topic, which is you have to do this because you love yourself,
Yeah.
not because you hate yourself or you hate your body.
Mhm.
Expand.
Yeah, so that's like the most important thing to me to like live by in working out. And when it breaks my heart when people start this journey
For the wrong
because
reason.
yeah, because you hate your body. And for me and for you, like it's because of our health. Like I love working out so much because each day like I appreciate what my body is able to do and the health, like my current state of health. And that's something that we both like recognize
Mm-hmm.
and see that health is very important to both of us and we realize how fragile it is.
Mm-hmm. Life is important,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's
so
what it is like being able to do it in the sense that, like, people get into car accidents and then they can't exercise past
yeah.
that, or people, experience one bad thing, one bad bone break, or
Yeah.
a freak accident, and then they can't exercise
Yeah.
anymore, and it's
And
like,
that's what gets me through some of my workouts. Like it sounds like dramatic and I know a lot of people don't think like this when they work out, but
Mhm.
we both do. I don't.
Yeah.
But like sometimes when I'm working out, like if I'm doing rows and I'm at 15, like sometimes that thought will pop in my head of like I'm healthy today and like I'm happy, like, and I do 5 more
Mhm.
because I'm like I can do this today. Like physically I'm able to do it.
What's your quote with Michelle that gets you guys through the workouts?
Oh, the mind gives up before the body.
The
Yeah,
mind
we
gives
scream that to each other.
the mind gives up before the body.
It's true.
That's a really good quote, because the connection between mental and physical health, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you think about it, your mind is capable of so
Yeah.
much, guys. Like, anything that you want to accomplish in this life. And that's why we're coming on here, is to tell you that even if you're struggling with your physical health or your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Although our government and Canada is not responding the best right now to COVID, and other countries are ahead of
Mm-hmm.
us or whatever, we can only control what we have in our hands, in front
Yeah.
of us, like these small variables that Rachel was talking about: a routine, making a to-do list, checking things off, small little releases of endorphins and
Mm-hmm.
dopamine, and like being happy. And you need to know what triggers that for you, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the whole thing of like doing it because you love yourself is more because you want a better life for yourself. You want to be
Yeah.
happy. If you want to be happy, exercise.
Yeah.
It'll make you happy. Or just doing something. And you know what, sometimes like the fine line with the toughness and whatever is like,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, sometimes doing the stuff that you don't want to do
So you have to do.
makes you better, makes you
Yeah.
happier at the end of the day, because you're like, you know what, I really didn't want to do, like, we're not going to compare it to working out. Like, I really didn't want to do this one task I had for the day, and you go and you do it. Like, there's a sense of
Mm-hmm.
accomplishment and happiness, and like, like you're content with yourself. Like,
Yeah.
when you lay down in bed later on at night to just hang out and to just chill or whatever, it's also good for your mental health to know that
Yeah.
you've done a lot throughout the day, and you kind of deserve that break at the end.
And the other thing with working out because you love yourself ties into everything. Like, you can't do something because you hate the way it is and you want to change it, and like you're doing it for the wrong reasons with anger, because then like you're not going to
It's
thrive.
short fused.
Yeah.
It's short lived. Like, if you're like, oh, like, I want to achieve this physique because I don't like the way that my body looks.
Yeah, you're never going to like it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to
That
do
connects all back to my body
yeah.
dysmorphia podcast, which if you haven't watched, you should go check that out. The last episode before this one, I do talk about that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be exercising because you hate your body. You
Mm-hmm.
should be exercising because you love your body, because you want at 40 years old to be still training and whatever, like a tank. Like, I want to be able to kick the soccer ball around with my son or my daughter, or throw footballs and run and do all these things. Like, I don't want to be gasping for air when I have
Yeah.
kids, you know what I mean? So I do it because like there's a love, and there's like something that it's a positive thing, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what it is, just make the reason why you're doing like a health journey or a mental health journey, make it for the right reason,
Yeah.
and
And that's
find
the
out
same
your
thing
why.
with like day rest days.
Rest days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you're training 7 days a week because you like have this like ideal body in mind,
Yeah.
like that's great. Like, you can have physical goals. Like, everyone has their physical goals. I do too. Like, muscles I want to grow, whatever. But part of loving yourself and this journey because you love yourself is acknowledging when your body needs a rest. So also, like, if your mind isn't in check, like if you're having a bad headspace day and you know that day you actually just can't force yourself to work out, like you need to be able to accept that and
Come to terms
realize
with
that
it and just be happy.
yeah, like tomorrow will be better, and know that today you need the rest. Like, you love yourself enough to see what you need
to
and
give yourself what you need.
yes, and sometimes that's not always killing yourself in the gym, and especially if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're thinking I have to work out today, like it should be like I get to work out today. Like, this is what I get to do. This is what I want to do. Like, I want to work this body part today. But if you're saying like I have to, like it just like switches
The relationship.
yeah, of the whole situation.
100%.
Yeah.
So, and I think that relates back to the fine line between being tough on yourself and knowing when to be gentle with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, today I think that the workout might be pointless because of the day that I'm having, the mental state that I'm in, and it's like, it's okay to just delay that workout till the next day,
Yeah,
and if
but-
you don't wake up feeling good still that next day, that's okay too. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be this upbeat, perfect person all the time that's in the best shape of their lives, best mental health. Like, that's why we're making this podcast, everybody, because I want to come on here and be real. The truth of the matter is, you're not always going to want to work out. You're not always going to want to go outside for a walk, and you're not always going to want to start your day nice and early and be productive and all that stuff. That's the truth of it. That it's more relevant now because of COVID and coming up on a year anniversary of it than it ever has been. And that's what we want to normalize. We want to let you guys know that, yeah, I'm posting my workouts in the gym or whatever, but it's not always easy. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, like no matter who you are and what you're doing.
And exercise itself, like, since we're talking about the relationship between the two, it's like directly correlated because I forgot what I was gonna say.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, well,
absolutely gone.
It's directly correlated, and we'll keep it at that.
Yeah, she's directly.
It's okay.
It's gone.
This is what I'm here for. I'm here to save these things. All right. So the last topic we're gonna touch on quickly, guys, is just a really cool saying that Rachel likes. She's gonna tell you where she heard it from. But the statement is, "Let the fire inside you be greater than this fire outside of you." Okay.
Yeah. So I heard this on, of course, Mike the Situation's podcast.
Yeah, we are huge Jersey Shore guys. We are huge Jersey Shore bingers right now. Like, it's it's reality TV, but at the same time, it's funny and we really enjoy it. But now that they're getting older, there's a lot more life lessons, I feel like, in the show versus when they were just partying and being stupid. So now, after the Sitch went to jail, came out, he's now has a podcast with his wife.
Yeah.
And because he's been sober from drugs, alcohol, and everything for so long, he's like super inspirational now. And Rachel really, really enjoys the content of their podcast. What's it called?
Here's the Sitch. It's great. I listen to it every week.
Big fan.
But
big
they
fan.
drop
Mike,
some great motivational quotes that make you really think, and that was one of them that really resonated with me. I was just like driving along and I heard that one, and I had to stop and write it down because I don't know, it just really hit me. And I think it's because sometimes life outside of you is on fire. Like, you could say right now, like, the world is on fire. Like, it sucks. It does. But
the truth of the matter,
like, when your desires and your goals inside of you and everything you want, like, if that is burning brighter than everything that's on fire outside of you, you can still do what you want. Like, if you have those dreams, those ambitions, and like things that you care about, like, burning so bright inside of you, like, when things are falling to shits outside of you, like, that should keep you together. Like, knowing that, like, you're on the path and you have things that you care about and that, like, you're working towards, like, that should keep your head up. And it's just, I love that quote.
That really fires you up.
Yeah, it does.
I've never seen her this riled up for anything. Like, you're
I
all
love
like,
that
you're
quote.
pumped up, eh? Okay. I love that shit too. That's awesome. Guys, like, if you haven't already, you got to check out Team Bionic Tips on Twitter. We are tweeting daily motivation, motivational quotes, perspectives, anything like that. So if you haven't checked that out, check out Team Bionic Tips on Twitter. Follow us up there, where I'm going to be sharing, motivational quotes like, "Let the fire inside of you be greater than the fire outside of you."
Yeah, but you have to give them credit.
Bomb. Yeah, of course. That's why we gave them credit on the podcast. But just a point that I want to make is that, like, when you were driving, whatever you said, you stopped and you wrote it down in your notes, right? Just like my vision board, having that in my room and waking up in the morning and reading those quotes out to myself, like, you're still alive, you still have more to give. Let the fire inside, outside, whatever. You reading them and making it like at the front of your mind is really good for your mental health.
And the other one that you like, lead with fitness.
Lead with fitness.
That one.
Yeah, that's a good one too, right? Lead with fitness. Everything that you put in your mouth, everything that you do in terms of like where you spend your energy and where you spend your emotional attention, right? Like that's another thing too, is having your emotions in check to know that, the fire inside of me wants to achieve this. Even though there's lockdowns and I can't go eat sushi or eat, at a restaurant or whatever, I can still achieve my life goals. I can still work towards studying your course, like for me, like being the best coach that I can be to my
Yeah.
clients, prepping, focusing on my bodybuilding, and the things that you have control over,
Mm-hmm.
are those things that kind of spark your fire. So if
Mm-hmm.
anybody out there is, wanting to get the best grades that they can, you're still in university, if you're at work, if you're older, if you're working, you're in a career, and the fire is for you to make a difference in your corporate office, or, change someone's life, like let that fire and the good in your heart lead you, versus all the shitty things happening about COVID and all this lockdowns and us not being able to see our friends. Like, we're very social people. You have a large group of friends. I have a good group of
Mm-hmm.
friends. Like, we haven't been able to hang out with them at all. Like, that's the fire outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you want to put things, routines, and all these things in place so that you can let that fire inside you burn bright and and,
Yeah,
and
and keep it
continue.
going.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's what you need to feed yourself.
Feed the
Like
beast.
yeah, like part of mental health is being selfish, like acknowledging what you need. Like say
That's a
you
real.
need to work out.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
Part of being of mental health is being selfish.
Yeah.
Hundred
Like
percent.
if you know that every day you need to work out for your endorphins to feel good,
Mhm.
like you make it happen.
Last question I have for you is like, how like somebody out there struggling with their mental health or whatever, like how do you know what makes you feel good? Like if you're kind of like in the dark, if you're floating
Mhm.
in space and you don't know, if you don't have this passion for exercise, and if you can't bring yourself to do workouts at home, that's not your
Yeah.
thing. I want to talk from more of just like a non-fitness
Yeah,
based thing. Like,
general.
yeah, like how can somebody know like what kind of gets them happy?
Yeah, I think you need to really try different things. And that's not in the fitness world. Like, even like Googling like the silliest things that you're passionate about and you like to learn about, like
Mhm.
Google it and see if you can try it in your
Mhm.
city.
Mhm.
Like what we did. Like I love
Mhm.
horseback riding. I don't know why. It's my like I'm
It's
not a
fun.
horse girl,
Mhm.
but
She's not a horse.
but I enjoy it. Like I did it as a kid. Not to say I horseback ride often. I don't.
Mhm.
But that was one of the things that like outside of fitness that I was just like, oh, like I want to do this
Mhm.
just to have fun. So one day we picked up with our friends and we went in the horseback road in
And we did like a
Milton.
trail, yeah. And it was
Yes.
like so close to our house
Yeah, so
too.
it's like something little like that, and then if you try it out and then you like
And it was
it,
during COVID. Like we
yeah,
were wearing
we wore
masks on
masks
the
on
horses.
horses.
Yeah, like it was no, it was definitely a really cool thing, and it's
Yeah.
something that I had never done until we went to Mexico, and I had to ride this horse on the beach, and his name was Flash, and I was like so scared. And anyways, that's a story for another time. And
Yeah.
then when she asked me to do it for the second time, I was like so down and so fired
Mhm.
up. Like I've never rode a horse ever in my life, and
Yeah.
then I find myself like in the past year I've done it twice.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was really cool
And that's
that
the
we
thing,
got
like
out and did something just completely different than what we're used to.
yeah, exactly. Like you need to try new things that scare you because like for someone that like is pretty anxious, like a
Mhm.
lot of things scare me
Mhm.
and like horseback riding scares me.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm trying to do more things that do scare me because that's when you find the things that you like. Like I like horseback riding. I think it's fun. So if you are sitting there and you don't have anything that you think that you like, Google something and try something new.
Check
Like
out your YouTube search history, the things that you're really interested in, that
yeah.
you give your time to watch about and do that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really good piece of advice for
Yeah.
anybody that's looking for an interest, a hobby, an
Like there's
activity
always classes you can take, like adult lessons, whatever. Like
of
you like
anything.
gymnastics, but you didn't do it as a kid, you can do an adult lesson. They exist.
Mhm.
So like just stuff like that. Like you need to Google it and don't be scared that you're older and that like you're starting this older, you don't know anyone. Like
Mhm.
you have to break through that fear to find out like if you like something. And say we go horseback riding and you hate it. Now you know and you keep looking. Like
Mhm.
just stuff like that. Like you gotta try new things.
The last point I want to make is like you also talked about like doing something out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something too that like on although for your mental health, it might not be initially the best thing.
Yeah.
Like you might be like scared, anxious, like I don't know about this, that,
Oh,
whatever. Like
yeah. Every time before we would go horseback riding,
yeah. Well,
those two
you've
times.
been kicked off a
Yeah,
horse, so
yeah,
you were actually scared about
yeah.
something or whatever. But in general, like the last like big statement I want to make is that, like, bring yourself out of your comfort zone, everyone. You know, like, if you find yourself, like, for the past year because of COVID or whatever, that you've been doing the same kind of stuff, like, just to give you an example with myself, like, when I went to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like, I was not ever trained ever once in my
Yeah.
life to self-defend or to grapple. I've never shot a takedown on anyone. I did Muay Thai too. I've never done any of that stuff. And when I walked into that martial arts gym and I was seeing people kick each other in the face and get strangled, I was like, what am I doing here? Whatever. I was so scared. Like, when I walked in there, I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, this guy that's a whatever belt, how many ever belts higher than me, just asked to roll with me. Like, I'm about to get killed. And that fear ultimately turned into like a good routine, happiness, self-growth, a new hobby, like small thing. Like, my pure passion is lifting weights and whatever, but as soon as I ventured out into something that scared me, it started off shitty and it started off like really like, oh my God, I don't even know if I'll ever come back here. I was getting strangled. I'm like, why would I drive somewhere to get strangled every day? Like, it makes no sense to me. I'm like leaving with like marks on my neck and stuff.
Yeah.
And but at the end of the day, things that bring you out of your comfort zone, like Rachel was saying, like, it's a good thing once you actually face that fear or you face something that you're not used to. You can then adapt, and then it's almost like Pokemon, where like you evolve, like you get into like this next version of yourself, where like now if I have to defend myself or whatever, like I would be way more calm. I'm like a bit more confident that I can defend myself against like another adult or an attacker or something like that. So, you know, at first I was scared, but now it has a sense of security. The first time you go into the gym, you're scared. You think people are judging you or whatever. But then like as you go and as you get more comfortable there, it becomes a place where like you don't feel judged. You're just there to like enjoy yourself, to have a good time, to benefit yourself. And then when you walk out, you know, when you're going to the gym years after compared to your first time, like same thing, it started off kind of shitty, you were kind of scared to do it, and then now it's like something that's like benefiting your life. Right? So I think that's it really, our podcast on the connection between mental and physical health. Do you have any last words?
I don't think so.
You were really good. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Because it takes a lot for Rachel to, you know, get going on topics, and we are midday right now. I'm on prep, so we're not drinking anything crazy. We're just drinking another energy drink. I don't have the can here. I'm not gonna leave her stranded like I did last time on the podcast and not cut it. But yeah, like, so she wasn't drunk this time and she actually talked, so that's like really good. I'm proud of you, honey.
Thanks, honey.
That's jokes. So everybody, I just want to thank all of my listeners on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Anybody listening to the podcast, love you guys so much. Thank you so much for the support and the nice, kind words that you all give me, especially after opening up on the last podcast. I appreciate you all so much. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. We just hit a milestone of 70 subscribers. I am super, super appreciative of everyone, and I'll give you a nice handshake, formal handshake. Thank you so much for coming on, my love.
You're welcome.
And we will see you guys in the next episode of the Bionic Podcast.
Peace.
Peace.